How much do we know about the Skar King's crystal and how it actually works? Throughout the course of Godzilla x Kong, the Skar King's most prevalent trump card was a crystal that he carried at the end of his whip slash. With the crystal, he was able to manipulate Shimo into doing his bidding, and this gave him a massive weapon to use in the conflict between himself and Kong. But how much do we really know about this crystal, where he got it, what exactly it is, and how it works? Well, today, Heralds of the Titans, let's dive into that question. In the novelization for the New Empire, it is confirmed that he uses pain to coerce Shimo into doing his bidding, and it's made very clear that this isn't any sort of hypnosis or mind control. Instead, the crystal is more of a cattle prod that he can use to hurt Shimo whenever she disobeys, though exactly how it works is a bit more ambiguous even in the book. It does emit a high-pitched ringing noise whenever he uses it, so one explanation could be that it is a sort of dog whistle. If the frequency is in a sweet spot that hurts Shimo's hearing, then this may compel her to listen, but since it only seems to affect Shimo, we believe that there is much more going on. It never seems to affect Godzilla even when he's in the vicinity of it, and we never see the Skar King attempt to use it against any other Titan within the Hollow Earth. So what else is going on here? We believe the key to this crystal lies in the particular type of radiation that lies within the Hollow Earth specifically, that which Shimo herself uses and frequently feeds off of. We know that different Titans are capable of absorbing different kinds of energy, and Shimo is no exception to this rule. After all, Shimo needs some way to fuel her powers, and the novel goes out of its way to explain the similarities between Shimo's frost beam and Godzilla's atomic breath, indicating that the two of them work off the very same basic principle. This would mean that energy is coursing throughout Shimo's system, and if she's been in the Hollow Earth for quite some time, then this is the kind of radiation that Shimo has been absorbing and drinking in. Shimo herself also has crystalline structures lining her spinal column which seem to bear a striking resemblance to that of the crystal, the same crystal that the Skar King uses to impose pain upon her. Therefore, the likeliest explanation seems to be that this crystal was actually the result of an old injury that left a piece of this structure behind for the Skar King to find and utilize, and eventually learned how to control Shimo using this old injury. If the crystal is actually from Shimo's own body, then this actually makes a lot of sense given what we know about energy-based titans. Take for instance, Godzilla and his own affinity for absorbing different types of energy and radiation. In Godzilla vs. Kong, we see the great apes were able to construct an axe using the severed dorsal fin of a fallen Gojira, but what's important is that the scale retained its power even after the Gojira that it was once attached to had died off. Kong was still able to absorb Godzilla's atomic breath with the blade of the axe, and use its energy output to his own advantage in his fight. So, is it possible that the same basic principle applies here, only if it's taken to a much more serious extreme? If this is the case, then the crystal would still be able to channel Shimo's power, even going as far as to manipulate the energy that she has coursing through her veins. If the Skar King can cause a surge of power inside Shimo's veins, then it makes sense that she would be severely hurt in this instance. By using one of Shimo's own crystal formations, the Skar King can control small bits of Shimo's power, though not nearly to the same degree of Shimo herself. For an example, he cannot create blizzards just with one small crystal, or even manifest Shimo's ice breath, but he can twist the energy inside Shimo's body in order to cause her immense pain, and this in turn bends Shimo to his will. Perhaps the most important revelation from this though, is the idea that this can be done to other titans, not just Shimo. This implies that the same may eventually be done for Godzilla if someone can figure out how to do this in reverse. The basic principle is that if an energy-based titan is injured and part of their anatomy is broken free, then someone may be able to weaponize this and exploit it, with this sounding eerily similar to what we already know of Godzilla. As we mentioned, there is currently an axe in Kong's possession that is able to channel the power of a Gojira, and all Kong may have to do is to manipulate the energy inside Godzilla's body in order to cause him immense pain, if he can get a hand on one of the dorsal plates. Right now we don't have evidence that the axe itself can do the same thing to Godzilla, but that doesn't put us at ease just yet. Even if the axe can do something like this, it may be a very complicated process to figure out, one that even the Skar King may not know how to do. We say this because in the film the Skar King does get a hold of Kong's axe, yet he doesn't show any interest in subduing Godzilla with this same tactic that he's using on Shimo. It's important to note though that there are plenty of reasons why he may not have done this, and this doesn't discredit the idea that Godzilla may be taken advantage of like Shimo at some point by someone smarter than the Skar King. Whether he doesn't recognize it's the same scale since Godzilla is now pink, or he simply doesn't have the knowledge is unclear. Or, of course, the dorsal plate could belong to a different Gojira, and not Godzilla himself. But this still does make us worried about Godzilla's future if something like this is possible. It leaves us to wonder if this is the only such crystal in the monsterverse, because even though it's currently destroyed, Shimo has seen her fair share of conflict over the eons that she's been alive with many different titans. And there could be more crystals out there. If Shimo was injured elsewhere and left a chipped crystal behind, it is only a matter of time before someone else takes the Skar King's lead and figures out how to use this for themselves. Right now, this is a brand new concept in terms of the monsterverse, and we don't have any current evidence that it's ever been used before. This means that, like all new ideas, it is destined to be expanded upon in the future. It is possible that the Skar King just paved the way for a brand new science regarding how to control energy-based titans. And more importantly, who would want something like this for themselves in the future? We know that any number of different government agencies and corporations have a vested interest in subduing the titans. And if word ever got out that Shimo was controlled by a crystal broken off of her own back, then it might make some of the more violent human antagonists turn their heads towards this concept. Apex Cybernetics already pioneered the Mechagodzilla project, which set the stage for artificial titans that can level the playing field. And could these people really be trusted if they found a way to subdue Godzilla or enslave him even? But he is not the only one. Billionaire Raymond Martin constructed the Titan Hunter specifically with the goal of battling titans with a man-made creation. And these are just a few examples of people who may be interested in enslaving Godzilla and his power. If his scales can be used to do the same, then it's only a matter of time before word gets out that Godzilla now has a new threat. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this concept that Godzilla might eventually be a victim of the same treatment of Shimo, and our idea and theory about Shimo's crystal? Do you believe that the crystal came from Shimo herself? And what is the future of Shimo in the monsterverse? Is this the only crystal left on Earth? Or can others learn how to control the ancient Ice Titan? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today. Atomic blast that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and I hope you're having an amazing one.